Gustavo, Adolfo, Uribe here, and I'm going to talk about in this video the difference between the battle of the DAWs, right? So you got Pro Tools, uh, what was the Logic, Ableton, and Reason, right? Those are like the main ones for, let's say, hip hop production. And I'll just give you my 2 cents on this, and then whatever you guys think, and whatever. I have been doing, hip hop music production for a while now, and I first started with Fruity Loops, Steinberg Cubase, um, and then I learned Pro Tools and Reason, and then later on, I got into Ableton. So that's my thing, and that's been like a span of 10 years or something like that. Maybe 15 years. I don't kind of a while. So, um, I'll just go down the list as for my progression and learning the differences or why I would use for what or for what. You know what I mean? And this might help you understand the differences between them or whatever if you're curious. So, Fruity Loops, I found that it's good for like beat making. So like the sequencing of the drums is really easy because it's got a really cool step sequencer um, that that you can see the different sounds like right there instead of like old school where it's just like you have to select the instrument and then you have like your little step sequences right here and then you just have to like it was kind of like a pain in the butt. But anyways, whatever. So Fruity Loops, I mean, I used to have a drum machine and a groove box, so I know what that shit was. It was like 350 bucks for a drum machine, and then Fruity Loops is out, and I'm like, wait a minute, I could have just used this Fruity Loops, and it was like much easier to use. So whatever. The point is this: really good for drum sequencing. So obviously, right now it's used very like a lot for like trap music and you can make any hip hop music on it really, and like house and techno stuff. So for that, like on the grid stuff, really strong program, and it's got good instruments. It's got good effects, good sound effects, and you really can't go wrong. Okay. Then for Reason, when I started using Reason, because another friend was using Reason, and I started to learn that, I liked that it was had really good like effects, like compressors and delays, and I liked the way that it kind of looked like the real hardware, so it looked like real machines that you would use, and you would like you press tab, and then you could like route the wires and stuff. And I found that you get really good sound out of that. Um, yeah, and the instruments were good. They had good synthesizers and stuff on that. And then you can use these refill packs. The recycle thing where you can like take a beat, chop it up, and like map it on the keyboard. That was really easy to use, so that was really cool. Very effective, and I got a lot of mileage. I went to like Guitar Center and I bought like a bunch of like refill sound packs and spent like a lot of money on those and got a lot of mileage out of those. So I was really happy with that. So yeah, so I would say Reason is good for like getting good sounds, and if you want to chop up beats, maybe like more for soul type beats, and then like Fruity Loops are better for like trap type beats. You know. Moving on. Pro Tools. Okay, Pro Tools. Back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember this or not or whatever, but you had to buy the hardware to get the software, and that was a pain in the ass. And I remember like I had, and not only that, but it would have different tiers. So it'd be like Pro Tools LE, Pro Tools HD, and Pro Tools whatever the fuck it was. And I remember I had to get like an M box to get Pro Tools, and that was like 600 bucks or whatever. And then later on, they like upgraded the Pro Tools version, and then that M-Box was obsolete. So I was just like, what are you gonna do? I'm out. I can't. I have to like rebuy another hardware. Basically, at that time, I was like, I'm not gonna buy another one of these fucking hardwares if this hardware still works, but I can't even use it. Another thing I didn't like about Pro Tools was that it was really, really confusing to use, bro. Like the routing, like to make a MIDI track, you had to like make a aux track and then route it to a MIDI synthesizer thing, VST, and then like recording was kind of a pain in the ass. It's like you had the count in thing and the conductor, and I don't know, man. It was just like seemed like everything was really like a pain in the ass. You could automate stuff, which was cool. Like most other softwares at that time weren't as sophisticated, I guess, in the automation thing. But just like everything, like you had to route perfectly. And I remember that using Pro Tools, it was just it was just a pain in the ass to use. The editing was pretty good in Pro Tools, but I mean for everything. And then I don't know, man. It's just a pain in the ass. And because of that M-Box thing, I left a sad sour taste in my mouth. Now Pro Tools nowadays, like you could use any device and you could use Pro Tools on it, so that's pretty cool. But it's a little too late. Whatever. Moving on. I used Logic for a music production internship that I was doing, and they were using Logic, and so I used Logic, and I found that Logic was very similar to Pro Tools, just like a Mac version of Pro Tools. Maybe a little bit nicer looking because it was like silvery-ish, but I didn't like Pro Tools. I didn't like Logic, to be honest with you. I couldn't. I mean, I don't like that program. It's just the thing with Mac software is like I find it that they try to streamline things, so it's like it's kind of like a milk down version of Pro Tools in my opinion, because it's a little bit more streamlined. They try to like make buttons more simpler and things just a little bit more streamlined. But what happened is that like for me, knowing all like the stuff that you can do, it's just like, wait, where's this? Where's that? Where's this button? Where's that? And I like have trouble finding things. And it was just kind of a pain in the butt because it's like, well, I don't really need it streamlined, you know. I just like I already know what to do, but I can't find the button, you know. So that was a pain in the ass. I don't like Logic, but for like recording stuff, you know, Pro Tools and Logic were at that point on my learning was, you know, it's okay. But then I discovered Ableton in grad school at Cal Arts because all the cool kids were doing Ableton, like DJs and you know those type of people. And apparently Ableton was really good for live stuff. So you could do live electronic music performances with that. But I don't really use it for that. What I really like, I at first I hated Ableton, but then I understood the navigation of Ableton because it that one is like it's not streamlined like Logic where it's like Pro Tools but like milked down. This one's like a different interface like instead of going from like trying to emulate the hardware with the mixers and stuff, like the way it looks, it was like more of like, okay, this is what it looks like on a computer. You know what I mean? This is made for a computer. This is made for a laptop. This is made for a computer. So, like the navigation on it, once I understood it, oh man, I loved it, bro. I loved Ableton. And Ableton's really easy to use, like the zoom in, zoom out. And I noticed for tracking, um, like just recording tracks is really easy, bro. Really easy. I just put the in and outs, and it would show up on the tracks, and you could just select whatever you want and route this with that, and it was just like real quick. So, um, as of now, I like to do my recording, my tracking, my mixing on Ableton. And I can make beats on Ableton too. Uh, Now, the other thing, to sum it up, is that I've learned that, and I have another friend that uses Machine to do beats, and it's for me, it's not really a DAW. I don't know if you can record audio on it, but it's more of like just a beat making software, which is like a really weird beat making software, and I don't really like it, to be honest with you. I like that you can use the actual like pads, but I don't like the software of it. Is what I'm saying, because I find it. You might as well just use Ableton. Use Ableton and record your MIDI sequences, record your audio, and then just from that MIDI you get the audio that you want, and then you print your tracks, and then you're ready to go. You can make your loops, you can make your whole arrangement. So okay, so now to sum it up, I would say this: for arranging, tracking, I think Ableton is the best thing in my opinion. Uh, you can track recording and uh, on Reason and Fruity Loops, but I like Reason synth sounds, and I like Fruity Loops step sequencer, drum sequencer, and Fruity Loops effects. So if you can use Ableton as your master DAW, and then like use Reason as your sounds and Ableton as your sounds or whatever, and record into Ableton, that's the ideal, and that's what I do for my stuff. So yeah, for Logic, I don't like Logic. Whatever, I don't like Pro Tools, but some people like it. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't know if you're gonna learn anything from this video. It's just like my opinion on stuff, but I guess it helps like when you learn other people's point of views, and it helps you kind of like understand it in different angles. So, anyways, thanks for watching this video. Bam.